This is the second in a video series about the Knitsmart knitting machine, which is almost but not quite exactly like the Bond machines. That includes Incredible Sweater Machine, Ultimate Sweater Machine, Classic Bond, and so on. Everything I show you how to do on this Knitsmart will also work on Bond machine. These machines originally came with a hem just like the one the Bonds used, and here are the instructions in the manual telling you how to use it. The weighted hem method works very well for casting on a machine such as this, but the majority of the hems that came with the machines are now worn out. If you can find one intended for a Bond machine, you may use it on your Knitsmart, but I'm going to show you a method for creating your own hem for either kind of machine that works just as well. It also lasts a very long time, and when it finally wears out, it's easily replaced. For the purposes of this video, we're going to assume that you have no weights at all to work with. If you do, that will just make it a bit easier. Select a yarn that is smooth and sturdy. I'm using worsted weight yarn, knot a loop into it. Hang that on the leftmost needle of the whole machine and E-wrap the next 6 needles, so 7 will be in work at any one time. This machine absolutely requires weights to knit, so we're going to knit the first couple of rows by hand so that we can improvise a weight. Pull forward each needle, one at a time in order, lay the yarn in the hook, and pull it back to form a stitch. Your opposite hand, the one not working the needle butts to pull it back, may have to pull on the E-wrap to keep the stitches forming. Now knit another row going the opposite direction using the same techniques. You'll never have to do this again. It's a one-time thing, but it's good to know how to form a stitch manually. And this works not only on this type of machine, but actually any knitting machine if it needs your help. Now, if you own any weights at all, one can be hung right here and we can proceed. But we're going to pretend that you don't have any weights and it's still possible to proceed. Find something heavy enough that will work through the fabric we've started to weight the fabric. I'm using a screwdriver, which is very awkward because it's got more weight on one end than the other and it will just slide out, but we have a plan. These are surgical clamps, and I've tied 2 together, having determined that the 2 of them will add enough weight to the pointy end of the screwdriver to get it to balance. So by means of a yarn loop, we'll hang it on and stop it from sliding off with a clothespin. This particular style of clothespin proved not to be ideal, and without comment, I changed to another clothespin later in the movie. Now we're going to knit another couple of rows manually because we need this whole weight contraption that I've devised to get down far enough that it won't interfere with the carriage when we actually start to knit. Those manual rows would not be necessary with a traditional weight. Now decrease 1 stitch on the left by moving that stitch over to the next needle, placing the empty out of work, and increase 1 stitch on the right just by putting that needle into either upper working position or working position, whichever works best for you. It will pick up a loop and knit. So we knit 2 rows, decrease 1 on the left, increase 1 on the right. I omitted an important step and therefore was rewarded with the failure of the needle to knit off. I corrected it off camera, but I will show you later in the movie how to avoid that problem. Every 4, 6, or 8 rows, move the 3rd stitch from the left of the work over 1 needle, but keep that needle in work, and then work the decrease on the left and the increase on the right. This creates an eyelet. The spacing of these eyelets is not critical, so if you get your row count messed up a little bit, don't worry about it. But we will be using them to work a weighted rod in and out of. Here I'm deciding how often to make the eyelets. The last one was 4 rows ago, and I think it's too soon to need another one. So we will just do our decrease on the left and our increase on the right. We are using a simple increase. So just by putting a needle into work, it picks up a loop and knit. But the needle latch must be open for that to happen. Check to make sure there are always 7 stitches in work. Now it's time for an eyelet. Transfer, creating the eyelet, decrease on the left, simple decrease, which means just moving 1 stitch over. Place the empty needle in work and the needle on the right for the increase, and manually open both latches. That's what I forgot before. You just saw the carriage stop because of a misalignment of a needle that I had placed out of work, but not all the way out of work. So watch and be careful of that. Here's the thing about manually opening the latches. Fancier knitting machines don't require that you do this because they have magnets under the carriage that cause the latches to open. This machine does not require that you do it when knitting normally, because as the needle moves through the previous stitch, that stitch causes its latch to open. So it has no choice. It's only when we have empty needles that we need to take charge of the matter and manually open the latches, because it cannot pick up a loop of yarn and begin to knit again without that latch being open. And in this case, there's nothing but us to do that. Keep on working across the bed in this manner until you have as much cast on rag as you need. It can cover the whole width of the bed, or you may wish to make some little ones for smaller projects. I am not yet all the way across the bed, but for the purposes of demonstration, I'm going to show you what to do if you run out of bed before you have knitted a rag as long as you want. Use a needle from the machine or a spare piece of wire or a hand knitting needle, anything to lift those stitches off and move them all the way to the left end of the bed. In this particular case, the camera is in my way of putting them on the left end of the bed, and I only want to bind off, so I will show you how to reseat the stitches in a spot convenient for me, and then we'll bind off. The goal is to get each existing stitch on a needle in the same order as it originally appeared. This is the most conservative and safe way. Use the single prong tool one at a time, push it through, put the stitch on the needle, then withdraw the holder. But the speedier way for me is this one. I'm using my left hand to pinch that stitch so it can't go away. And here I'm able to do 2 at a time. It takes a little practice to do the thing I did last. Once you master it, it is faster and it's quite easy. But there is no shame in using the slower, more conservative method throughout your entire knitting career. So my cast on rag is as long as it needs to be, and I'll just bind off using the transfer method, which is move the left stitch to the next needle over, manually create a stitch, move the new stitch to the next needle over, manually create a stitch, which is really knitting off 2 stitches together. That's more of a hand knitting way of thinking about it. But this makes a neat chain stitched edge, a closed cast off in other words, and we'll finish the rag. Snip the yarn tail, pull it through the final stitch, and that releases the rag. Those simple increases created these loops. They are not the prettiest thing in the world if you were knitting an actual garment, but they're extremely useful to us here because we will use them to hang on the needles. We use the rag by hanging the loops on needles. It can be every other needle or every needle. Just be sure that you don't have to stretch it too hard. See, using the next loop on every other needle got too tight there. It's not that important that the rag be used consistently, it is important that it hang easily. So just space it as it falls. Now work a steel rod with some weight to it through those eyelets. If you have the one that came with your weighted hem, or anybody's weighted hem originally, use it. If not, places like Lowe's have steel stock that's suitable. I think 1/4 inch tends to fit well. Every other needle is the fast way, but in this particular yarn, it did not work well. It resulted in slips or skipped stitches for me. So when that happens to you, use every needle and hang one of the loops from your rag on every needle. Of course, to do that, you will need more rag than you would if you were using every other needle. Be certain that each needle goes through its own opening. It's important to the effectiveness of the technique that 2 needles not share an opening, and they might fit space-wise, so watch for that. Whether every needle or every other needle are used, work the weighted rod in and out of the eyelets. You may find that additional weight is still helpful, in which case weight from any knitting machine can be used to hang in the rag or on the rod, or you can improvise some additional weight. Now we need to knit in a row of ravel cord, which is any strong, thin, smooth yarn. I'm using a piece left over from a swatch on a smaller gauge knitting machine. That's why it looks so curly, but it'll work fine. It saves a little fuss to do this moving from left to right with the carriage, although it's not critical. The needle latches are forward of the stitches. That means towards us from the stitches, so the fabric can't open them, and that makes it our job. Hold down the ravel cord tail with one hand, slowly knit across with the other, and the ravel cord is knitted right in. Now we can do any cast on that we want to. I'm going to use the E-Wrap, which is a classic machine knitting cast on. Most Bond and Knitsmart manuals refer to this as a closed cast on, but there are many closed cast ons. This is simply a very popular one and also neat. We really are making the cursive letter E to surround each needle shank. The secret of success is to keep that other thumb under the needle. Look how difficult this is. But a thumb or finger from the other hand beneath the needles gives a lot of control and makes the motion much simpler to accomplish. Now the machine can't knit from here, so we move back to upper working position, also known in the Knitsmart manual as advanced working position, and we make sure all the latches are open. Thread the yarn into the yarn feeder, otherwise known as the yarn nozzle, and slowly knit across with the carriage. From this point on, knitting should be very smooth and straightforward. However, you may find that you could use a little bit more weight on each end. You see that my end stitches didn't behave as well as everything else, and I am having to manually correct them. Let's just hang one on the left edge and see how much better it behaves. You can get these from any machine knitting supplier. It doesn't matter what machine they're designed for. Or you can create your own, and I show you how to do that in my Cheap Tricks and Cool Tools book. The left end stitch is now knitting off beautifully. The right one's still giving a little bit of trouble, so we will add a claw weight to that side. And from this point, we should have no further difficulties. And it's knitting like a dream now. I'm out of my little ball of yarn, so I just knit it off, remove the weighted rod, remove the claw weights, and here is what we're left with. Now, in order to free the main knitting from the cast-on rag, I snipped that ravel cord in the middle, and I'm able to pull out from each end. Very often it will pull out without snipping, just pull out in one piece. But in order to protect the integrity of the cast-on rag, I like to snip. The yellow is the main knitting, and we are left with a very neat finished closed cast-on and a completely reusable rag that's in good condition. More Knitsmart videos to come. See you soon.